Vladimir Putin has dominated Russian politics for over 2 decades, shaping the country's direction, cementing his hold on power, and positioning himself as one of the world's most influential leaders. But like all leaders, his time in power will eventually come to an end. The question is, how? Will Putin step down voluntarily, cling to power indefinitely, or be removed by force? In this video, we'll explore the different scenarios that could lead to the end of Putin's reign, from political shifts to economic pressure, and even the possibility of internal dissent or international intervention. To understand how Putin's reign might end, it's important to look at how he consolidated power in the first place. After taking office in 1999, Putin moved quickly to dismantle the oligarch-dominated system that emerged after the fall of the Soviet Union. He re-centralized power, brought major industries back under state control, and sidelined political opponents. Over time, he established an image of strength and stability, presenting himself as the leader who restored Russia's global standing after the chaotic 1990s. Putin's popularity, especially in his early years, was genuine, built on a foundation of rising incomes, economic growth, and a renewed sense of national pride. But as time passed, Putin's rule began to shift from democratic appearances to increasingly authoritarian measures. Constitutional reforms, extended presidential terms, and the systematic dismantling of political opposition allowed Putin to remain in power long after most expected. In 2020, a controversial referendum allowed him to extend his rule potentially until 2036, giving him the option to stay in office well into his 80s. Despite these moves, no leader's rule lasts forever. Let's take a closer look at the possible ways Putin's reign might come to an end. The first scenario is that Putin could simply retire or step down. While this seems unlikely in the near term, it's not entirely out of the question. Putin has hinted before that he would consider leaving if a suitable successor were found, someone who could continue his policies and protect the system he's built. However, one of the challenges Putin faces is that he has personalized his rule so much that finding a successor who can balance loyalty, competence, and public support is difficult. Unlike other long-ruling leaders, Putin has not groomed a clear heir. While figures like Dmitry Medvedev and Sergei Shoigu have been floated as potential successors, there's no obvious candidate with the same level of power and control. Even if Putin were to step down voluntarily, the transition might not be smooth. Russia's political system has been so tightly controlled under Putin that a power vacuum could create instability. His inner circle, known as the Siloviki, a group of former intelligence officers and military officials, might jockey for influence, leading to internal conflicts or even factional infighting. The question of who holds the loyalty of the security services, the FSB, military, and police, would be crucial in determining what comes next. In a best-case scenario, Putin could engineer a managed transition, stepping down with guarantees of legal immunity and influence behind the scenes. However, in a more chaotic scenario, rival factions within the government might struggle to fill the power void, potentially destabilizing the country. Another possibility is that economic pressures could force Putin to step aside or weaken his hold on power. While Putin weathered the 2014 sanctions imposed after the annexation of Crimea, and more recent sanctions following the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Russia's economy has been hit hard. The combination of international sanctions, lower oil prices, and a stagnating domestic economy has left Russia increasingly isolated from the global financial system. While Putin has maintained a grip on power through state-controlled media and by blaming the West for Russia's economic problems, growing discontent among ordinary Russians could become a problem. Economic hardship has historically been a trigger for political change in Russia, and if public dissatisfaction reaches a tipping point, it could force Putin to either make concessions or risk losing popular support. It's also possible that Putin's reign could end through internal dissent within the Russian elite. While Putin's control of the country appears solid, history shows that authoritarian regimes can unravel quickly when cracks form at the top. If key members of Putin's inner circle, wealthy oligarchs, senior military officials, or powerful political figures, begin to see him as a liability, they could conspire to remove him from power. Such a move would likely be quiet and behind the scenes, with little fanfare. A coup or forced resignation could be engineered to appear like a voluntary retirement, allowing Putin to exit without public humiliation. However, for this to happen, the elite would need to calculate that they can maintain their wealth and influence without him. A risky bet in a country where loyalty to Putin has long been the key to survival. There's also the possibility that Putin's reign could end through a popular uprising, although this seems less likely given the current political climate. Russia has seen significant protests in the past, particularly after the 2011 parliamentary elections and following the poisoning and imprisonment of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. While the Kremlin has cracked down on dissent, arresting protesters and curbing opposition media, public discontent has not disappeared. If the right combination of factors, economic crisis, corruption scandals, or a loss of legitimacy comes together, it's possible that large-scale protests could erupt, forcing the regime into a corner. However, Putin's security apparatus is well-equipped to suppress dissent, and any uprising would face significant challenges in overcoming the state's repressive machinery. Lastly, we can't ignore the potential for health or age-related factors to play a role in Putin's exit. While Putin has cultivated an image of physical strength and vitality, often through highly publicized photo ops of him riding horses or playing sports, he is in his 70s, and speculation about his health has surfaced from time to time. If Putin were to experience a serious health crisis, it could set the stage for a more rapid transition of power, particularly if it coincided with other destabilizing factors like economic decline or political infighting. Of course, there is also the possibility that Putin will hold on to power for many more years, maintaining his grip through a combination of force, manipulation, and strategic alliances. He has shown an extraordinary ability to adapt to challenges, both domestically and internationally. As long as he can keep the elite loyal, suppress public dissent, and navigate the country's economic difficulties, he could remain in power well into the 2030s. However, the longer he stays, the more precarious his position might become. Leaders who overstay their welcome often face unpredictable and chaotic ends to their reigns, and Putin is likely aware of the dangers of clinging to power for too long. In conclusion, while Putin's reign could end in a variety of ways, retirement, economic collapse, internal dissent, or popular uprising, the most likely scenario is that his exit will be carefully managed, either by himself or by the elites around him. However, in a country with a history of sudden political upheaval, nothing is certain. Whether Putin leaves power peacefully or through more turbulent means, his eventual departure will mark the end of an era in Russian politics and could set the stage for significant changes in the country's future.